If you have a strange or scary story you want to share with the channel, go to astheravendreams.com and click the big button, or email it to me at astheravendreams@gmail.com. And of course, thank you. Dear Raven, I've recently started listening to your podcast, and having had several weird experiences myself, find that I can relate to some of the stories submitted to you by other listeners. Two in particular resonated with me, and they prompted me to submit this story. This is the most recent weird event that has happened to me, but at the time of writing is about 2 years ago when it happened. I've previously recounted this story in the comments section of another YouTube channel, so if this story sounds familiar to anyone, they might have read it there. I live in a small village in a relatively rural part of Wales. The landscape around is fairly rugged terrain, which, in the 20th century, was planted with coniferous trees. These now form densely wooded areas, and, if not privately owned, are usually public access areas. They're popular with walkers and mountain bikers, as there are many footpaths, trails, and forestry access roads. As one such area is right on my doorstep, I like to go walking there myself. One day, when the early autumn weather was glorious, I went for a walk, and I took a circular route, which basically takes you all the way up one side of the hill, and then back down again on the other. It took me about an hour to get to the top because the road twists and turns and doubles back on itself, but in all of that time I saw not a single other person. When I started to come back down the other side of the hill, I stopped to look at the view. Everything was very peaceful and quiet. I spent several minutes looking at the view, and as I turned to continue my way down, I was surprised to see, sitting by the side of the track, a large black dog that looked like he was some form of border collie. He had a tan-colored chest, a big pink tongue moving as dog tongues do when they're panting, and likewise his ears were bouncing too. He was sat like a sphinx with his front paws straight out in front, and his head was tilted toward me with a friendly look on his face. I assumed that the dog had run on ahead of whoever was the owner, and as the track made a curve a short distance ahead, I was expecting to see someone appear or hear shouts calling the dog back. But no one appeared, and I heard nothing. By this time, I had gotten nearer to the dog and could see it clearly panting, but there was no sound. Everything was quiet. As I got closer, I was considering scenarios like the dog had gotten lost, or had he been dumped, so I tried to see if there was a caller. There didn't seem to be one. As I got closer, still I bent down and put my hand out and said, "Hello, what's your name then?" That's when things went weird, because very slowly, this very real and solid, albeit silent dog started to dissolve into lots of pixelated squares, until he completely disappeared. It seemed to happen really slowly, but the really weird thing was that where the dog had been sitting, there was now a wooden log, which, I hasten to add, looks nothing like a dog in any way, shape, or form. I have no explanation for what I saw and experienced. Whilst I've never seen the dog again, quote, dog log is still there, and I do give him a friendly pat and have a quick chat whenever I walk by. First, some background. Every year growing up as a child, preparing for Christmas was a huge part of the fun leading up to the big day. I liked decorating for Christmas, the Christmas tree, and helping with other holiday decor. But as a small child, I always felt a touch of sadness while setting up the manger, because the donkey had a broken leg. I can't exactly remember what the pieces were made of, but it was some type of ceramic material, and the bottom half of one of the donkey's legs was broken off, and had been that way ever since my mom could remember. My mom always reminded me, "Don't worry, God loves all creatures," and had encouraged me to include the donkey along with everything else. I'd always taken great care to lean the donkey against the inside of the manger or against another piece from the manger set so that it could stand as upright and normal as possible. Fast forward to the day of the glitch. By now, I'm in my early to mid-teens, and at a point in my life where the smaller things like decorating a Christmas tree or setting up holiday decor had become like chores, versus something I looked forward to. With the hustle and bustle of life, no one in the family had set up the manger that year and the weeks before Christmas. So, on Christmas Day, just having finished opening our Christmas presents and still sitting in a sea of wrapping paper along with my brother, 3 years younger, and my father, my mom went to the basement to get the manger, and then handed it to me to unwrap the pieces and set up. When I got to the donkey, I exclaimed, "Wow, Mom, you finally fixed the leg." My mom responded with, "What are you talking about?" And then handed her the donkey, now with 4 perfect legs, and said, "The donkey with the broken leg. You fixed it." Knowing that I'm the house prankster, and that my dad and brother would not have done it, her jaw dropped and face went white as a ghost, and she calmly said, "It wasn't me, that's not funny." From the look on her face and tone of her voice, I could tell that she wanted to believe it was me playing a prank, but knew based on my reaction that I had not fixed the donkey's leg as a prank. Mind you, my dad and brother are the types who can't find the mustard in the fridge if it's behind a single bottle of soda, let alone locate where my mom stores this manger in the inner depths of the basement. And aside from me, my family is just not the type to play pranks, let alone something like this. In fact, they're terrible pranksters, and the handful of times I recall any one of them having attempted even a small prank, it would be over in a matter of seconds with bursts of laughter from whoever was attempting said prank. Nonetheless, after a logical round of "you did it" and "no I didn't" among the 4 of us, all the while maintaining death stare type eye contact without any of us coming close to bursting into laughter, it quickly became apparent to all of us that no one in my family was playing a prank about having fixed the donkey's leg. And it's not like we had other family, guests, or anyone else over to our house that would have been even in that part of our basement where the manger was kept in storage, let alone to be able to find the manger place and do something like this. Our large basement was cluttered beyond imagination, and my mom kept the manger in a far corner in the basement amidst a massive pile of Christmas paraphernalia, inside a protective box, and with many other boxes and things stored around or on top of it. I even remember how we all inspected the legs of the donkey to look for even the slightest bit of unevenness that surely would have been present after gluing together the 2 broken pieces of ceramic, if not perfectly aligned. But there was nothing. All 4 legs of the donkey were perfect. My mom was extremely touched by this experience. Both of her parents had passed away within about 6 months of each other, so she'd been feeling very down that particular Christmas, being her first Christmas without them on this earth plane. In the months after their passing, she had experienced several other signs from beyond, particularly during times where she felt sad or anxious. As a result, she just knew this experience was special, and another sure sign that all was going to be okay. Her other experiences were heartwarming and all very positive, but this one being a shared experience / glitch, and also more concrete, no pun intended, is by far the most spectacular. So this story isn't scary or completely insane like some of them that I've listened to on your channel, but it was definitely a glitch, if I've ever had one. I do love this podcast, and I find myself listening anytime I have free time to do so here's my minimal glitch that, for me, just kind of solidified the fact that there are definitely different timelines, or sometimes things get mixed up. I'm a server at a strictly southern chain of restaurants. We wear aprons that have 3 pockets in them. One on the left, one in the middle, and one on the right-hand side. We have ticket books that we use to write customer orders on, which I keep in my left pocket. My cash tips go in my middle pocket, and my ink pens needed for signing receipts and writing tickets go on my right. A little bit of OCD here, so it is always this way. Any server knows that a good ink pen can make or break your tickets, and it just overall makes you feel good to have a really good ink pen. I work the morning shift at my job, so on this particular morning I arrived at work, I had purchased 2 packs of my favorite ink pens, which had 2 in a pack, and sat on my front passenger seat in the car next to me. As I sat in my car about to start work for the day, I opened 1 pack of the new ink pens, placed them in my right pocket of my apron, which I was wearing, left the empty package on the seat with the other unopened package, then grabbed my things and headed inside. Our ticket books have a couple of things on them that have to be filled out before we start our shifts. Like our names have to be written at the bottom of each one. We have a menu test, which helps us remember the pricing of the food we sell, and we have a log that shows how many tickets we had and how many we sell, with the date and store number. So when I enter work, I grab a ticket book, make myself some coffee, and sit down to fill out all of this while I'm waiting to start my shift. I sit down, I place my ticket book on the table in front of me, and I reach to the right pocket of my apron that I'm wearing for one of the brand new pens that I had just placed there. Except there is no pen. Not only did I place 2 in there, but I don't even have 1? Odd, I think. So I check the middle pocket, and again, no pens. Weird. So I check the left pocket, and believe it or not, no pens. Not a single one anywhere in my apron. I take the apron off, thinking there's no way, and folded it in my hands, which would obviously tell me if there was anything inside of it, because it's made of cloth. Still, not even one single pen to be found. Now, this is odd because I know that I literally 5 minutes before opened a brand new pack of my favorite pens and placed them in my pocket. But, seeing as how it's early and maybe I'm just crazy, I decided to go back to my car for the other pens that I knew were lying on my passenger seat, unopened. When I got to my car, I see in the passenger seat 2 packs of pens. The opened one that is empty, because I just placed them in my pocket, right? And one that has 2 in it and is unopened. There are no loose pens anywhere to be seen in the car. I shrug it off, running behind for clocking in on my shift, and open the unopened pack, placing both pens in my right pocket, empty package on the seat next to the other empty package, and go back inside to finish my ticket book before clocking in. I get back inside, sit down with my ticket book, reach into my right pocket for an ink pen, and guess what? I now have 4 brand new ink pens in my right pocket. Now, like I said, this isn't a scary story or even really that significant compared to others, but the fact that not only did I know I had put the first set of pens in the pocket, I had taken my apron off, folding it around, searching for them before going all the way back to my car for the other 2, only to return and now have all 4 of them. This was definitely a glitch, and I've never really had anything more significant than this happen, but it was enough to know that there are infinite timelines that coexist that may switch back and forth numerous times without us ever even noticing. Thank you for listening, and remember, if you can't find your pen, you may only be a timeline away from 4. Hi, Raven. I've submitted several paranormal and glitch stories that you've beautifully narrated on your channel. Thank you. The one that I'm submitting now is rather tame, but it is a head-scratcher for sure. So, to provide you with a little context, I have a tendency of overpaying my credit cards and other bills. Many of my bills are set up on autopay with my bank. Like many busy people, I conduct my bill pay and other financial transactions through an online banking app on my phone. This provides me with the convenience of banking anywhere. Using a banking app has been immensely helpful. It allows me to be sure my bills are paid on time, see when the few checks I write or receive have been cleared, and it helps me to be vigilant so I won't incur late fees or pay unnecessary interest. Aside from my proactive approach to bill paying, I also overpay bills for other reasons, which I'll explain in a bit. On May 12th of 2025, I received a check in the mail for the amount of $5. I received it for overpaying my American Express credit card at the end of March. I knew that I overpaid my card a few weeks back, so it wasn't really a surprise to get a check in the mail. In the past few months, I've received several refund checks for overpaying different cards. Some card companies wait a few months before sending you a refund check for overpayment, while other companies send a check far sooner. I've been overpaying my credit cards, bills, and mortgage for as long as I can remember. Although I'm mindful about keeping my credit in good standing and being financially responsible, I'm also often too busy to go to the banks, so I do most of my financial stuff online. Over the last few years, I've learned that when overpaying credit cards in particular, you should try to overpay by more than a few cents. This allows you to utilize your banking app to deposit the check directly from your phone. I learned this lesson a few years back. I have 3 checks that have been unable to cash through the online banking app. They've been sitting in a tray in my bureau for about 2 years. I keep telling myself I'll deposit them when bigger checks come in, and then take a trip to the ATM and make the deposit. Truth be told, I can be a little lazy or unmotivated to go to the ATM to deposit money when I can do it from the convenience of my phone. I've even toyed with the idea of tossing out those checks because they're just a few cents, and it doesn't matter. Every time I go to toss the checks in the trash, something stops me from doing so. Only, I don't know what. Now on to the glitch. On Monday, I went through the mail when I got home from work, sifting through junk mail and so forth, and I realized I got a piece of mail from one of my credit card companies. The clear window in the envelope made me think that it wasn't a credit card offer. It looked like a check. I opened it and realized it was another overpayment check from American Express. When I saw it, it took me a few seconds to remember that I overpaid this card. When I saw the amount, it all came back to me that I intentionally overpaid the card by $5. The reason I did this with my American Express may seem silly to some. You see, American Express is not set up on automatic bill payments. This is because I don't use this card as often as I do my Chase or Amazon cards. But my online banking app on my phone indicates that if you owe nothing that month on a credit card, you will still have a bill pay notification saying you owe $0. So, even if you owe no money after the billing cycle passes, the app shows this bill as past due, even though it's not past due. It's a simple fix, really. If I want to get rid of the notification, all I have to do is log into my online banking through my laptop and virtually file the bill. This feature is not available on the online banking cell phone app. Another option for us, sometimes lazy people, is to overpay the bill to make the past due notification disappear. That's exactly what I did. Anyhow, when I was sorting through the mail and saw this piece, I opened the envelope and saw the $5 check was made payable to me. I set the check on the kitchen counter and continued about my evening. I even mentioned to my husband, who was in the kitchen with me as I went through the mail, that we got a $5 check because I overpaid American Express. He heard me but wasn't really fazed. That check sat on the kitchen counter undisturbed for 2 days. No one, not my husband nor my kids, moved it. On Thursday evening, I brought it upstairs and put it in a silver tray in my bureau with the other 3 uncashed checks. 2 for 1 cent and another for 3 cents. I told myself that I would deposit all of these checks through the ATM on the weekend. On Friday, when I came home from work, I noticed another check sitting in the pile of mail that I collected. This check was a $3 dividend check for some old stock option my husband had from years ago that is so minuscule. He gets a dividend check every other month or so for a few dollars. I put the dividend check with the other one from American Express and the 3 other older checks. I specifically thought to myself, now I'll deposit the $8.05 on Saturday, and I'll finally get rid of those 1 and 3 cent checks. Win-win, right? By late Saturday afternoon, I decided to deposit the $3 dividend check and the $5 through my phone app, since I still had a million things to do this weekend, and we wouldn't have time to go to the bank to make an ATM deposit of all the checks. So I wrote "for deposit only" on the back of the 2 checks, and proceeded to log into my online banking through my phone. It is important to note that when you take a picture of a check to deposit from a phone app, it gives you a warning to photograph the check on a dark surface. So, I grabbed my black hoodie and laid it on my light-colored bed, and placed one of the checks that I just signed on the hoodie to photograph it to complete the online deposit. I noticed that the first check I tried to deposit was the $3 dividend check. Then, I flipped over the other check and noticed that the other check was for 1 cent. So wait a minute. Maybe I grabbed one of the old 1-cent checks from the silver tray instead of the $5 check. I walked over to my bureau to grab the $5 one, and when I looked at what was in the tray, I saw 2 other checks in the tray and not 3. Before, there were 3 in the tray. 2 for a penny and a single check in the amount of 3 cents. So why were there only 2 checks in the tray? Where was my $5 check? Was the check that I was holding one of the old checks? I know that I signed 2 checks just moments ago, and the old 1 and 3 cent checks from the tray had long been signed. I know this because when the checks came, I signed them and tried to deposit them through the banking app on my phone, only I couldn't. This is why those 3 checks have been sitting in that silver tray since 2023. I checked the tray again, but there was no $5 one to be found. I went downstairs and checked the kitchen counter. Nothing there. I checked the whole main floor of the house. Nothing there. I went back upstairs, scouring every room, including my kids' rooms, and I even checked the trash. I looked virtually everywhere for it. I even asked my husband and texted my kids if they saw the check. No one had seen it. I believed them, as this is not like them. Incidentally, if I left the check on the counter for a month, I can guarantee it would still be sitting there. I know for a fact that I put it in the silver tray. I also know that I put the dividend check on top of the $5 one, knowing I planned to deposit the $8.05 through the ATM on Saturday. In that moment, I thought this could be a glitch because I was 100% certain I just signed 2 checks totaling $8. I went back upstairs in a state of confusion. I resigned myself to the fact that it was gone or lost. It wasn't really a big deal, it was only $5, but something didn't feel right. I kept looking everywhere for it because I kind of felt as though I was going crazy. I just had to make sense of what was really going on here. After resigning myself to the fact that I should forget about the whole thing and just go on with my day, I took a closer look at the 1-cent check that I thought was for $5. That's when I noticed the date on that check was current. It had the date of May 8th, 2025. I couldn't believe my eyes. How could it be? The silver tray in my bureau had 3 very old checks from 2023. Now there are only 2. And the one that I just signed was for a penny and not $5. How could the check change in value just like that? And how could it suddenly bear a current date? Did the $5 check vanish or glitch into another universe? Did the ink on the check change the amount? Did me in another timeline need $4.99 more than me in this timeline? The me that is currently standing here holding a check for just a penny? Or are my eyes and mind simply playing tricks on me? If you or your listeners have answers, I'm open to whatever possibilities I could be overlooking, but based on what just occurred, I'm holding a check with a May 8th, 2025 date for 1 cent and not $5. This is truly bizarre. I've experienced many strange and paranormal events throughout my life, and this is yet another example that makes me more of a believer that we are living in a strange and unpredictable world. Hi, Raven. Emailing you from Australia. Oh, good day, mate. Recently found your YouTube channel and finally mustered up the courage to tell you my story. I have an experience of what I would consider a glitch in the Matrix from when I was young, maybe about 8 to 10 years old. This memory is still very vivid in my mind, and at the time I knew it was something I wasn't supposed to see. As a child, I thought I had done something wrong and could feel the energy of, I guess, the Matrix being mad at me. So I tried to block it out and pretend it didn't happen, but it's something I haven't been able to forget. The story is very bizarre, so I hope that I can articulate the experience well. I was in the lounge room of my old childhood home with my twin brother and mutual male friend. We were sitting in a circle, playing, talking, and laughing, and at the time, Mum was in the shower. I was sitting close to the entryway that led into our hallway when I heard my mom's footsteps walking down the hallway toward us. Assuming she had just gotten out of the shower and was coming in to check on us, I leaned back through the doorway to see her, and I saw... well, I don't know really how to explain it. I saw her left leg walking down the hallway, but not the rest of her body. Imagine someone walking down the hallway, but their entire body is invisible except for one leg from her toes to her hip. At first, I briefly froze in disbelief and watched her leg take a few strides. I could still hear the noise of her footsteps as if there were two legs. I felt a wave of fear rush through my body as she got closer. I shot myself forward so I was no longer looking down the hallway and quickly moved to the opposite side of our circle. My brother asked if that was our mom coming, but I just went silent and had my eyes locked toward the hallway doorframe, waiting to see either my mom or her leg. But nothing. The footsteps stopped. I asked my brother to check if Mom was in the hallway. He shuffled over, leaned back, my heart racing, and he said no with a surprised look on his face, as he'd also heard her coming down the hallway. I went quiet and didn't know what to do. My brother and our friend noticed the difference in my behavior, but I just lied and told them that I was fine. After a few moments, maybe 5 minutes give or take, my mom did, in fact, get out of the shower and start walking down the hallway. As I once again heard her footsteps, my heart was beating out of my chest. I heard her get closer and closer to the lounge room. I was terrified. As she came into the doorway, I jumped and was visibly scared. She asked me what was wrong, but I lied and said nothing as I had this overwhelming fear and sense that something was mad at me for seeing what I saw. I honestly thought that she could possibly be a part of the Matrix and that I would get in trouble if I admitted what I saw. Again, I had an intense feeling like I had seen something I wasn't meant to. For a while afterwards, I questioned my reality, as if I was in the Truman Show and everything else was fake, and everyone knew except for me. Or if I was in some kind of video game and had experienced a lag or a malfunction. Now I would just consider this a glitch in the Matrix. Thank you for giving me a platform to share this. This experience had a lot of intense emotions and questioning of my reality at such a young age. I've only told 2 people about this experience, and both times there was little interest or belief. A very, okay response, so I appreciate the chance to tell my story here. Hi, Raven. This is a long one, as it has many layers. I often listen to your channel as I drift off to sleep, and I enjoy hearing the crazy things that happen in our world. I decided to share my story about Peter, as you mentioned you hadn't been getting many submissions lately. Thank you. Peter's been a phenomenon in my husband's family for years. Many have their own stories. It's important to note that Peter looks exactly like my husband. My husband also has a very different build to all of his brothers, so there's no mistaken identity. I personally believe that either my husband, or I, am time-traveling, or alternate realities of my husband are slipping in every now and then. My first proper encounter with Peter was when I was lying in bed with my now husband, while he was watching a movie. He paused the movie to go for a smoke, so I just lay there with my eyes closed, waiting for him to come back. Soon I heard the door open, felt him get back into bed and start the movie. I didn't move, as I didn't feel the need to, but as time went on, it felt like the atmosphere around us was getting louder and louder and louder until suddenly everything went quiet, and the TV stopped right as my husband opened the door. I spun up and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I went for a smoke." But then I responded, "You already came back." To which he said, "No, I haven't. I only just came back." He then got into bed and resumed his movie. There have been other times where I've seen him walk through the house, even though he's lying in bed or not even home. One time he kissed my forehead and said, "Love you," to which I opened my eyes to see my husband turned away from me. My husband and I now have a baby, and we take turns in getting up to do her morning feeding. The most recent thing that Peter has done was, one morning when Bub was fussing, I felt my husband get out of bed and go to our baby. I watched on the monitor as his long hair waved down in her face, and she laughed and giggled, only to realize that my husband never left the bed. I also noticed that my partner had recently chopped all of his hair off for our wedding, so it seems that Peter has not yet cut his hair. It's also important to note that whenever I have an interaction with Peter, it's never scary, and I don't feel uneasy by it. I think it's nice that my baby gets double the time with her father, who visits from multiple dimensions. Thank you for reading, and if you share, thank you for listening. So, that, my friends, was a collection of Glitch and the Matrix stories. We had 6 stories today, some interesting ones for sure. Some bizarre stuff going on in this existence that we champion as normal, or something like that. I don't know. My point is, these were weird and strange stories, always are, under the supernatural umbrella. Definitely some odd things going on, like I said. And I know you all enjoy them, at least I hope you do. And if you do, I would be very happy if you would hit that like button on this video, the thumbs up button below the video. If you hit that like button, that tells me that you enjoyed the stories, tells YouTube you enjoyed the stories as well. YouTube is then more likely to recommend my stuff to you, which is always a win for everyone involved, right? Haha. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'm just throwing words out there, and sometimes they stick. Sometimes they don't. When they don't, I regret it. Though, honestly, I don't regret it. I don't have regrets whenever it comes to making my outros, because these are unfiltered, candid, strange stuff. Just things I say, right? That's all they are. Me being me. Me chatting with y'all randomly. Anyways, like the video, please, if you enjoyed the video, and you want more content like this. Then you should also subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 45,000, I think? 50,000? Where are we at? Where are we at, guys? Who knows? Studio.youtube.com. We're at 44,948, so we're very close to 45,000, which puts us dang near half a play button at this point. That's awesome. Go us. Go us. Yay. I am excited. It's just hard to show excitement when I'm trying to record an outro. At least know I'm trying to figure out what to say. Anyway, subscribe to the channel, like the video. You can also join Patreon memberships, get early access to content like this. Listen to the podcast on other platforms such as Spotify, Audible, Apple, all those platforms. Send in your stories to astheravendreams.com or astheravendreams@gmail.com if you're having issues with the website. I know some Apple users still randomly have issues, so there's that. You can also do a super thanks, which is a tip to the channel. Never expected it was appreciated, but it does help a lot. So, yeah. The other thing we do on Glitch videos on Mondays or Wednesdays, if it's a bad week, is Word of the Week. On the screen right now, and several moments prior to now, is a collection of all the wonderful and amazing people who left a comment with last week's Word of the Week. Each and every single one of these people went above and beyond. I never expect you guys to leave comments like this, but you do, and I appreciate it more than you know. Whenever you do this kind of stuff, it helps the videos perform better. Of course, it would also be appreciated if you could comment on my other videos that you listen to, or reply to other people that comment, because that does help foster a welcoming community. So, but anyways, they went above and beyond. So thank you to each and every single one of them who did. They are amazing. You are all amazing, but they are extra amazing. +1. Yeah. This week, the word of the week is going to be a fun one. It's aberration. Aberration. It's the fact or an instance of deviating or being aberrant, especially from the moral standard or normal state. Something or someone regarded as atypical and therefore able to be ignored or discounted, which is an interesting way to put that. Another definition of aberration is like the fun things that I do with like the red and blue, or like the red and blue 3D stuff, where the red and blue is shifted slightly. Those are aberrations. So use aberration in a sentence, get featured at the end of next week's glitch video. I have to fix some technical problems I'm having now with my graphics card. It's doing some fun things here, so that's fun. Anyways, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Hope I see you again here very soon. But until then, remember, you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you're the best that you can be. Don't forget it. Until next time, much love, and of course, sleep well.